Let's travel back in time to the late 18th century, a time of powdered wigs, colonies along the eastern coast of North America, and a brewing storm of ideas that would change the world forever. This is the story of the American Revolution, a conflict not just for independence, but for the very concept of freedom. The year is 1763. Imagine this. The British Crown has just won a long and expensive war, the 7 Years' War, and the British Empire is at its peak. But victory comes at a price. That price? A national debt so massive it threatens to topple Britain's economy. To solve it, Parliament turns to its colonies in North America, a place brimming with resources and people who are not keen on footing the bill. Enter the Stamp Act of 1765. It seems simple enough, a tax on printed materials like newspapers and legal documents. But to the colonists, this act represents something much larger, a growing sense of injustice. For years, they've governed themselves in many ways. But now they're told they must obey laws and pay taxes imposed by a parliament across the Atlantic, without any representation. Hence the rallying cry, no taxation without representation. This wasn't a passing complaint. Colonists protested, boycotted British goods, and began forming groups like the Sons of Liberty. Fast forward to 1773, another British tax, this time on tea, leads to one of the Revolution's most iconic acts of defiance. Dressed as Native Americans, members of the Sons of Liberty board British ships in Boston Harbor and dump an entire shipment of tea into the water. The message is clear: we'll drink no tea taxed without our consent. The British response? The Intolerable Acts, a series of laws designed to punish the colonies, especially Massachusetts. They closed Boston Harbor and placed the colony under direct British rule. But rather than weaken the colony's resolve, these measures unite them in opposition. Representatives from the colonies meet in 1774 at the First Continental Congress to discuss their next move. War is on the horizon. And then, in April 1775, it begins. British troops march to Concord, Massachusetts, aiming to seize colonial weapons. But what they find instead are the Minutemen, colonial militias ready to fight at a moment's notice. The shot heard round the world is fired at Lexington, and the American Revolutionary War is underway. At first, it's an uneven conflict. On one side, the British, a global superpower with the world's strongest navy and a formidable army. On the other, a group of colonies with limited resources, no professional army, and no unified government. But what they lack in power, they make up for in determination and leadership. Figures like George Washington, a Virginian planter and former soldier, would rally the colonial forces. Thomas Jefferson would pen the Declaration of Independence, adopted on July 4, 1776, boldly asserting the colony's right to be free and self-governing. The war itself is grueling, lasting 8 years from 1775 to 1783. The tide turns in 1777 with a crucial victory at Saratoga, where American forces defeat a major British army. This win convinces France to join the war as a crucial ally, providing weapons, funding, and military assistance. Later, Spain and the Dutch Republic also lend their support, turning the war into a global conflict. By 1781, the war culminates at Yorktown, Virginia. American and French forces trap British General Cornwallis and his army, forcing a surrender. Victory is within reach, but it's not official until 1783, when the Treaty of Paris is signed. The United States of America is officially born. The American Revolution is more than just the story of soldiers, battles, and treaties. It's the story of ideas, the belief that government should be based on the consent of the governed, and that individuals have inherent rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These principles would go on to inspire movements for freedom and democracy across the globe. America's journey didn't end in 1783. It was just beginning. The revolution laid the foundation for debates about equality, justice, and the role of government that continue to this day. But it's also a reminder of what's possible when people stand united for a cause greater than themselves. So there you have it, the story of how 13 British colonies rose up to become a nation, challenging the world's most powerful empire along the way. The American Revolution wasn't just about independence, it was about the birth of ideas that would shape the modern world. And that's a legacy worth remembering.